Hello everyone, back tuning in to today's video, doing JMA Friday today, having a look at where next month with the Japanese and CFS V2 models. So we've got the blocking over Scandinavia at the moment, winds are in from the east. We'll be seeing how long these models are forecasting this to go on for. And whether we could come out with a cooler than average month for October. This update is going to take us into the start of November. We'll go up to around the 4th of November with this update. So it'll be interesting to see what the JMA and CFS do with this high pressure over Scandinavia that we've got right now. Before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all the pages. Have a browse to widgets and click through links. If there's any articles that are interesting, you'll be helping us to pay for the website. Thanks very much for doing that. So, starting off with the JMA, these are the 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts from the pole down. So, this is the North Pole just here. This is the latitude area just here. This is the British Isles just here. So 500 millibars, 80,000 feet is an area in the atmosphere, high pressure, low pressure being moved around by the jet stream running above. Blue extrapolates to low pressure, and yellow, orange, brighter colours extrapolates to high pressure. These are broken down to weekly periods. So the first week period will take us from today, 7th of October, through to the 14th. You can see the northern blocking quite nicely there. We've got the ridge through Scandinavia, and it is extending out towards Iceland and Greenland as well. Below average heights to the south of this through southern parts of Europe. And of course, the flow here is in from the east. So, pretty good representation of where we've got right now, and the weather going to continue into next week, which is high pressure over Scandinavia, and generally to the north, northeast of the UK, low pressure to the south, which could bring some unsettled conditions through to southern parts of the country at times. But the emphasis really is on the cool feel, and probably quite a lot of dry weather up in the north. We go through to week 2. This takes us from the 14th through the 21st of October. Retrogression takes place then. So the above average heights has gone through to Greenland and Iceland. And then we're setting up a trough over Scandinavia. So things going more northerly here, and more sort of northeasterly, with the flow going through something like that. I think that would be another pretty cold week. In fact, it could be a little bit colder that week than the week we've got coming up, I would have thought, due to the orientation of the trough and the reef. So quite cold conditions potentially there through the middle part of October. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4, which takes us from the 21st of October through to 4th of November. And a bit of a change takes place then. We lose the northern blocking, so we're reverting back to a westerly flow here. We've got below average heights to the north, going to Scandinavia, but also backing in towards Greenland as well. We've got a ridge building to the south of us. And the upshot is that we're bringing the westerlies back in. So this is turning milder, and it's also turning more unsettled as we go through to the end of October and into the start of November. Now, this could be a transitional period, so maybe starting off in this period around the 21st of October, quite cold and blocked still, and then reverting to a more milder westerly Atlantic-driven pattern at the very end of October into start of November, something like that. But the overall idea is that the blocking is reduced and we revert back to westerlies. Now, if you want cold weather into the winter, don't be too despondent about this, don't be too alarmed. It's highly probable that at some point this autumn we're going to have to get a spell of westerly Atlantic dominated weather. We haven't really had a spell of unsettled Atlantic weather yet. Haven't had any deep areas of low pressure crashing in off the Atlantic, or autumnal storms, anything like that at all really so far this autumn. But at some point that's got to happen, and it may well be that after a spell of westerlies we might go back into blocking later in November, or possibly even into the winter. We just have to wait and see on that. Of course, equally it's possible that we would never go back to blocking and we will keep it westerly all winter. But just because we lose the blocking there at the end of October, revert westerly, doesn't necessarily mean anything at all for our winter prospects. So having a look at the mid-latitude view now to see how this all stacks up in terms of temperatures and precipitation. We'll go back to week 1 first of all, which is the 7th through to 14th of October. We know we've got the ridging up to the north and northeast. I should just say that the British Isles is up in the far top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it. So we know we've got this ridging, this area of above average heights, high pressure up to the north and northeast, low pressure down to the south, and bringing in these easterly winds. You'll expect this to be quite cool and dry. So what the model is predicting for temperatures, near normal for the north, cold and average for the south, quite interestingly. I think it would generally be a colder than average week coming up there. And notice how cold it is across most parts of Europe as well, significantly cooler than average for many parts of Europe, in complete contrast to the heat that we had in September. We look at the precipitation, and it's generally drier than average, particularly so to the north, where it's substantially drier than average, but all parts of the country coming out with below average precipitation in the weekend. And of course, that is expected because we are blocking off the Atlantic Ocean. We move through to week 2, which, remember, is the 14th, 21st of October. We're changing the position of the ridge then. It's going more towards Greenland, a bit of a trough setting up over here, over Scandinavia, and I thought the upshot of that's probably going more northerly with the wind flow, which you would expect to be quite cold. Actually, the temperatures are lifting up. The temperature anomaly there for week 2 is average to slightly above average. I think that is very dubious. Based on the 500 millibar height anomaly, I would expect a colder than average week there, potentially more so, really, than week 1. So not quite sure what the model is doing with that one, but reduce those temperature anomalies quite substantially for that week. And then the precipitation, again, it's coming out drier than average, which you would expect due to the Atlantic still being mostly blocked off. And then weeks 3 and weeks 4, remember, we're reverting back to westerlies then, losing the northern blocking, raising heights to the south, so, and low pressure to the north, so going back into westerly flow. You expect that to be milder than average, that's what the model is predicting, so I agree with that. It's just week 2 I'm not sure about. Weeks 3 and 4, you'd expect to go milder than average as the flow goes westerly, so that's fine. And then precipitation, you're expected to turn wetter, and that's what the model is doing, going above average with the rainfall there at the end of October and into the start of November. So overall, it looks like we have quite a coolish spell coming up for the next couple of weeks, and then later on in October, towards the end of the month, start of November, we go milder, revert back to those westerly winds. That's the JMA. Let's see how the CFS V2 is dealing with things. So again, these are 500 millibar height anomalies broken down into weekly periods. The first weekly period takes us from the 7th through to the 13th of October. So we've got the ridging, the blocking up to the northeast over Scandinavia. We've got the trough through central parts of Central Europe as well to the south of us, and running out into the Atlantic there. And the flow is coming in from the east. So pretty good representation of what's going on. We've got agreement here for the coming week with the JMA and CFS V2 models in terms of that block setup. And agreement for week 2 as well, because that ridge extends from Scandinavia, or retrogresses from Scandinavia in towards Greenland. There it is, the centre of the above average heights has gone that way. Low pressure still running underneath that blocking, and you would think that the flow is coming from a more northeasterly type direction, which I will think is again quite cold there through the middle part of October. Different to the JMA for week 3, although the JMA height anomaly is a 2-week anomaly for weeks 3 and weeks 4. This is the anomaly from CFS V2 for week 3, going from the 21st, 27th of October, and that blocking is still in there over Greenland and Iceland, with the low pressure still underneath it. Again, you would have thought that the flow is coming in from the north and the northeast. The jet stream's on a southerly track through here. So that looks unsettled, and it also looks cold as well. And I would have thought by late October, we're probably talking about frosty conditions coming through with that much northern blocking. Week 4 looks like this, and it's a change again. So there is agreement here between the JMA and CFS V2. This is from 28th of October to the 3rd of November. And look at that, the northern blocking then is gone, and we're raising heights to the south around Spain and into France. Low pressure is in the central Atlantic, and what this would do is send the winds into the southwest. The Atlantic returns. It turns more unsettled, of course, turns wetter, but also it turns milder. I think these brighter colours just here are what's left over from the northern blocking, but generally at the very end of October, start of November, it looks like we've got agreement there from the JMA CFS to reduce the blocking and revert things back to a milder westerly flow. So temperature anomalies for the coming week with CFS V2. This is 7th to 13th October, colder than an average. And again, notice, sorry about that, notice just how cold it is across many parts of Europe. Very significantly cold on average there through many parts of Europe through the coming week. Week 2, again, I would have thought this is a bit colder than the model is suggesting. It is a bit on the below average side, particularly for England and Wales, but I would have thought that's a colder week from the 14th, 20th of October. Week 3, that also comes out, for England and Wales, it comes out cold and average, near normal for Scotland and Northern Ireland. I think these models are overdoing this for this middle part of October. I think it will be colder than they are suggesting. Week 4, of course, as the flow goes into the west-southwest, you'd expect it to turn milder. That's what the model shows, a milder than average week there, 28th of October through to 3rd of November. Finally, precipitation. The coming week is drier than average, significantly so. That makes sense because the Atlantic is blocked off. Week 2 looks quite wet, interestingly. I'm not sure it'll be that unsettled, really. I would expect that to still be a bit drier than the model is going for through that middle part of October. Week 3 is reverting to near normal precipitation anomalies then, and then finally week 4, which you would have thought is going wetter than average as the flow goes back into the Atlantic. Again, it's near normal with the precipitation. I'm not sure, based on the anomaly, the height anomalies, the pressure anomalies, that these temperature and precipitation forecasts are making a great deal of sense. I think the way forward in terms of the pattern is quite clear, with lots of high pressure over Scandinavia through the coming week, and then the high pressure gets to Greenland through the middle part of October, if these models are right, which takes us from an easterly in the coming week, probably to a northeasterly for the middle part of October. The upshot of that is that I think the next couple of weeks are going to be cooler, colder than average. And then we go through to the latter stages of October into the start of November, when we seem to have pretty good agreement on some sort of change taking place. We lose the blocking, we revert back to westerlies, and the very end of October, start of November, looks milder, Atlantic-driven, wet and windy, potentially there for the very end of October into the start of November. If these charts come off, it will be a colder than average October, I think, and that will go along with the Gazwobi's October forecast. Of course, we haven't had a colder than average month since April, 6 months ago, so quite a different pattern here for this October. Right, that's all for now. Tomorrow we have got weekend forecast coming up, and we will also do CanSIP Saturday in the evening tomorrow, having a look at next 6 months with the long range CanSIP model. That's all for now then, and thanks for watching.